Wow, apparently yay, woohoo! And 10 minutes late, it's being awkward. Yay, okay. So we are live. Great. That's awesome. All right. So, uh, there we go. All right, let's make sure that we are having enough people coming into the live space here. All right, let's get this party started. Or for people who weren't here, people at Twitch are like, "What the fuck?" All right, all right. So we are available here. We are going. Thank you very much, there, Lurk. Yeah, Twitch. Apparently, I'm streaming perfectly well on Twitch and YouTube. I am still making up. So everyone who is trying to get into the show on YouTube is going to find like conflicting links. So it's going to be a little bit while for them. Caius, there you go. There it is. Yeah, I had to. Yeah, my streaming software has been working too well. Anyway, all right, let's get into the show because that's the reason why people join in. Today is a holiday for those of us in the States. Today is Columbus Day, so a lot of people stateside may or may not be here. Oh, thanks, there, Lurker, man. Thank you very much. Like you said, fashionably late, but hell, worth the wait. I don't know about that. Maybe I think cheesecake is worth the wait. Cam, you didn't find good. You found it. Okay. All right. It'll clean itself up eventually. All right. So okay. Let's. Funny that we've had all these problems with, dare we say, one of the most, I'll say, boring, um, least thematic character classes ever created, and still going forward. Probably one of the most boring, and I kind of like it. I kind of like the idea that it's that way because, again, we get to back ourselves into a corner of the creative influences we can find in it. So, by the way, thank you very much for popping in, Caius. But yes, today is a holiday, and it may even have something to do with what our subject matter may be for this week as well. All right, so on this Monster Monday, since we are, cutting class, yeah, Kaya says today is the national holiday in Spain to celebrate kicking Napoleon out. I didn't know that. Mm, I didn't know that. I actually, honestly, I don't know much about many holidays around the world, and we've done. You probably already know this, but we've done a week on festivals, holidays, celebrations. Um, some holidays aren't necessarily celebrating good things, but they are like remembrances. There's reasons why we've done that plenty of times, and I guess in a way, fighters kind of fit into that. So, talking about various character classes, the word fighter, the idea. Yeah, Brian Lurk was like monster of the day, gremlins. Ooh, ooh, little nasty demonic fake creatures. Yeah, we might have to talk about that one day. Yeah, because the only reason we think of gremlins is when things we do, the old adage, the adage of, if you do the same thing over and over again expecting different results makes you the insane one. Gremlins, on the other hand, are like, hey, I'm doing the same thing every time, but I'm getting different results. you know, uh, that's where we're like, it must be gremlins. Uh, so anyway, the fighters are like, there's no theme for fighters when we talk about fighters in role playing games. Like when you say the word monk, when you say the word paladin or druid, or heck, even cleric, you know, rogue might be up there in might be one of the top two, least thematic, stereotyped, trope-ish, archetype words descriptor words we can find, but fighter's probably the most bland, uh, bland, I don't know, unsweetened almond milk, um, off the shelf econo brand mayonnaise kind of, you know, lowest cost sliced white bread kind of descriptor we can find. Like, it's a nothing word. And legally blind clerkers like, I hold them responsible for your tech issues for the gremlins. Oh, I wish I could find a gremlin pic and pop it up here, but I can't. Oh, stage 10, you suck for right now, at least. Hopefully they'll figure out all the the nuances. But I think one of the problems with fighters is that, and this is actually an issue with a lot of our intellectual properties, is that we have too many examples of fighters. Every culture has had them over a number of centuries, and they come in so many different flavors and numbers and contexts and things that it's a bit difficult to narrow them down. Um, Cameron says the 9th of the month was Leif Erikson Day. He was the Viking explorer who discovered North America. Talk about fighters. According to his documentation, they fought Bigfoot and lived. Really? The 9th of this month. I didn't know that. I mean, I did. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me take this back. I knew about the Leif Erikson discovering America. I didn't know that there was a day dedicated to it and how much information there was. But there was even a not very good movie called Pathfinder, if I'm not mistaken, that was based um, on the Vikings landing in the United States, or in the Americas, North America, long before Christopher Columbus. And of course, there's always the controversy of Christopher Columbus discovering America as if it was lost some kind of way, where he arrived in what became the Americas, but he didn't discover it. It was already here. So tired, needs sleep. Says, made it. Yeah, I'm a little tired, need sleep myself. All right, so fighters are the least descriptive, and guys got me squirreled. Least descriptive and least thematic, because there's so many different types of fighters. But I think something that we tend why do they call it almond milk? Because no one would drink but juice. Really? I love myself my almond milk. I haven't been drinking it lately. It's got a lot of sugars in it, but one of the concepts that is strange, but that we seem to not embrace, is the fact that when we look at our Dungeons and Dragons, and I understand it's because of the rules, the way the rules are set, but when we look at the game, we have lots of like monster stats and lots of horde creatures. You know, we think of hordes of orcs or hobgoblins or what have you. But there's a larger family of monsters that use a lot of pretty intricate weapons, crossbows and morning stars and things of that nature. And one of the things that we really don't incorporate a lot is, well, fighting. And what I mean by that is not the cusp between like battles and a war, where fighting is the way people live in this world, in the world that we're going to start to develop as we move through the space of this week. Tired Neat Sleep says, call me basic, but fighter is one of my favorite classes. Yes, it's a bit simple, but I don't know. I really like that, especially if you build an interesting backstory. Oh yeah, fighters allow you to build. If you're a backstoryist, they let you build some of the greatest backstories, because frankly, most of our favorite ideas come spark from fighters. I mean, it's like for every other character class, there's like at least 10 to 50 other fighters that are hanging around in the world that would support them, be their adversaries, be their obstacles, and things like that. Legally Blind is like, oh, like, no, damn, autocorrect screwed up my punchline. You're fine there, Lurker. I understand that you are vocating your things there, but uh I like the idea of the butt juice. So you're fine, man. And of course you're always welcome to comment on the show no matter what happens. Um, so one of the things I think that we often lose sight of in terms of fighters and the warrior classes and such is the fact that despite magic and monsters and everything, they kind of tend to, in many ways, they are the ones that manipulate society, right? That's our, as a matter of fact, our own historical references are all about fighters. There is no magic and dragons and that kind of thing. Yeah, yes, we do have other things going on in our world, whether rogues are considered to be the criminal element of our past history, and clerics and druids kind of um, represent faith and religion, but fighters rule the world, and the reason is because it's like it's pretty easy to put a weapon in someone's hand and have them defend yourself and or kill somebody else with it, and for the most part, that's how most things die in these fantasy realms. So, but we still don't give them a lot of credit, and one of the things I think that we tend to overlook because of the personal nature of role playing games is the idea of just having multiple roving bands of fighters around the world. From, we tend to look at city guards as being pretty haphazard and ridiculous. We don't think of uh, armies that are protecting, the countryside and forts and things to be very good, because we understand that the game has a level system. But fighters really shape the world, and for good or bad, right? Whether they're respected or feared, or they're destroying the countryside, or that kind of thing. It is a they rule everything. um, Cameron says there are a lot of cool things a fighter can do. Just think of all the creativity to longsword fighting, like grabbing the blade, the conk the top of your foe's helmet with your crossguard to stun them. Yeah, like Tired Needs Sleep says, yeah, exactly, Cam. You don't need to have oodles of magic to be effective. And unfortunately, the way, say, 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons has manipulated the numbers, it is far it the game has defaulted to everyone using magic now. Whereas the idea of if you've ever seen some of the most creative battles happening, and if you had to defend yourself, the idea of like you said, fighting with a long sword, tripping and falling someone, grabbing, if you've got an armored gauntlet, grabbing the blade and using it like a pole arm, or using it to leg trip someone, impaling an individual, blinding them, cutting off a limb. There's so many things that fighters do as well. Whether it is whether you're um, doing other things like grappling and stunning someone, and doing tackling someone or whatever. And I think a lot of that is a rule set rather than the fighter class itself. And also the lack of the fact that fighters come in, we have such a huge description of the fighting class. Hey there, Rickard. Thanks for popping in. That it can be difficult to narrow them down without examples unless we do those examples ourselves. The idea of fighters in the deepest parts of Africa, Zulu warriors, for example, might be extremely different than, say, whirling dervishes, which are different than samurai classes and whatnot. Yeah. Yeah, there was I intended there to be a flawless stream today, but and yes, today is a holiday here in the Americas, but I have defaulted to always broadcasting because those holidays are not in existence elsewhere unless I preload you guys. If I tell you, like, like Christmas Day. I might be broadcasting it, like Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Day, like those, some of the bigger holidays and things like that. I may not broadcast, but I'll let you know what's going on. Yeah, I had to cancel the stream. Then I had a duplicate stream. Then I had to cancel those and whatever. Stupid. All right. Yeah. So the other thing about fighters and about like our adversaries and such is that um, most people who have a bit of combat experience, um, become we discount the fact that combat experience is the crucible of brilliance, that even some people who have had very little education, that we look at as actually, unfortunately, viewing them as being not very bright, learn enormous amounts of information when it comes to fighting, and the best ways to do so, and the best methods to destroy your adversaries or defend your life and yourself, including the idea of, I mean, I know you guys listen to, watch some of the largest YouTubers on the internet that talk about medieval weaponry as an example, and their uses and their historical context, and why would they or would they not use them. And a lot of the weapons that are used throughout history even have changed over time based on their effectiveness. And that is one of the great things about the fighters, because I find that, the idea that a fighter wouldn't know what a wizard is, or that they're about to cast a spell, or that a cleric isn't begging their a cleric or a warlock isn't begging their charges, that a fighter wouldn't take the opportunity to blind a wizard, or cause them to not be able to speak by punching them in the throat, or knocking a wizard down and stepping on their hand so that they can't cast a spell or something, like uh, those kind of things. I think, while not every fighter would know how to do that, that in a world where that exists, that they wouldn't, or even having combat abilities against some of your more arcane like creatures, like fighting tactics against larger creatures like ogres and hill giants, or those large bugbears and whatnot. Kaya says, I like the fact that fighter covers a huge wide spread of people and cultures. Fighter is maybe my favorite class. Wow, you guys are okay. Tired Knee Seep says, in a two-shot campaign my wife ran, I made a fighter who was also a detective. He used his fighting skills to catch and apprehend a burglar ring. Ooh, I like that. Rickard says a fighter would have tactics to deal with casters. Yeah, see, I agree with you. Not of Like I said, not every fighter would, but yeah, and the closer they are to the magic, I think the greater chance they would have of being aware that the magic is in existence and that it could affect them, right? Like, not that everyone knows how to detect magic or read magic, but like, I don't know how to speak German, but I understand when German is being spoken, if that makes sense, right? So, sure, I might be a little behind the eight ball when a few German words are spoken, but at a certain point, my brain is going to be like, "Ding," you know. And so, I'm really surprised that we haven't, or not surprised, but I, I think it's a great thing to call upon when it comes to like using fighters in that manner, for a fighter like a bodyguard or city guard or something, and a player character gets ready to do something and they go, I see what you're doing, that pouch on your hip, I know what that's for. Give it over. I'm confiscating it right now. And oh yeah, guess what? I train my dogs to smell bat guano, right? Or something. Cameron says, I've always thought that fighters need more skill potential in games, stat wise. I I'm with you right there. Yeah, being good at swinging a sword is fun and simple, but when they can put together a makeshift ballista, it's cool. Yes, I'm with you. Trap making, setting up people, like setting up a thing where fighters can use the environment around them. Um, uh, Miyamoto Musashi, I'm butchering the name, used to try to fight people at dawn so that the uh, so that the opponent would be blinded by the sunlight, you know, or someone who scatters weapons around the battlefield so that when they use maybe say like some ranged weapons like javelins or something or bow and arrow, when they run out, they can run over to another area to pick up some more weapons and whatnot. Um, yeah. Ricker says soldiers would probably have training fighting casters unless they are rare. Right. And your seasoned adventurer would have well developed tactics given how many cultists they tend to face. Yeah. Tired need sleeps as cultists fall by the thousands in D&D. Rest in peace, cultist number 4,301. Oh, well. Yeah, yeah, but you're right. I mean, there's always some evil cultist group trying to summon something from some other netherworld. PCs break in and they roll in their eyes like, really? Trying to open up yet another portal to another demonic realm? Really? The cultists are like, dude, that's what we do. uh, yeah. Cameron says, by the way, I've made a makeshift ballista. Ooh, can't be that hard for well-practiced soldiers or soldiers learn a lot of skills and discipline. Yeah. Kaya says in D&D, Battle Master is the tactical fighter. With the right combo of combat maneuvers and feats, a fighter can be great versus casters. Yeah. Also, I think another thing that we tend to, I don't want to say disrespect on fighters, but the fact that most common populations respect people with fighting prowess. You know, fighters tend to be the most athletic. There's something about it's one thing to be a bookworm, but it's another thing to have a physical presence to you. There's a look that someone has. There's a demeanor that people carry with themselves who have lots of combat ability. And I'm talking about the entire gambit. I mean, from boxers to people who are in sports to MMA fighters in our modern day, police officers, soldiers, like criminals, even you know, people who survive in prison. There's a walk and talk to those individuals that I think represents the charisma-fied effect of them. Now, I get it. Some of those people might be pretty rude and their charisma might be low, but then there's something else where there's something that can be said. There's something that when they say something, it makes other people listen. And I think in our our modern day role-playing context, that having groups of fighters around in the world, human and non-human, um, being the influential ones, you want these warriors to be well fed, you want them well paid, you want them on your side to defend your land. As a matter of fact, a lot of times in our own modern context, it's not even about battle. It's about who can create the largest armies or the most well fed or the greatest reputation. You know, lots of stories and music and celebrations are built in and around military conflicts. And why wouldn't that be so in our fantasy? And as a matter of fact, like we're talking about fighters being able to fight off magic. Why wouldn't fighters just be skilled in fighting off just normal things in and the Dungeons and Dragons world? Like if they see a manticore, they're just like, oh, I know that tail shoots off spikes. Let's take cover over here. Now, mind you, listen, if I can like pat myself on the back here, the cinematic environs is literally written and intended to be used and abused. And the idea is to use the environment to your greatest effect. And like Tired Needs Sleep mentions that the Battle Master is awesome. The Battle Master has maneuvers that affect the battlefield. And I think we do ourselves a disservice by not having the battlefield be manipulated by everyone, not necessarily by character capabilities, but just in general. Like, for example, going into a narrow space to like the 300 soldiers to narrow down your combatants, and of course they were in their narrow space, narrowed down thousands and tens of thousands of people into hundreds. But I'm talking about like fighting in an alley or a narrow cave structure or something, or kicking dust or throwing dust in someone's face, or using heights, attacking someone from above, or those are the kind of things that I think that are lacking. But there's no reason why we can't use them in the game. Also, where are the weapons coming from that many of our stat blotted monsters are gaining weapons themselves, right? Like bugbears, all the giant classes, most of the humanoids. There are some other creatures that use or have access to weaponry, even though they have other capabilities like shape-changing abilities, teleportation, maybe turning into something where their normal state is non-human. A lot of them have weapons, and if they have those weapons, why do they have them? For example, for a long time, the Medusa was equipped with like a bow or javelins or something of that nature. Why? And so coming up with a reason for them, like, have they trained in those abilities? Apparently they're carrying around a weapon. So it must be that they use them enough to need them, or there are things that they encounter where their normal capabilities are either ineffective, or it's like nuking something. Sometimes you don't need to nuke something. Sometimes you need to just pull a weapon and keep something or someone at bay. Cameron says, I could see fighters having manuals for defeating monsters. Or actually, what about war songs about killing monsters where in the lyrics are the monsters' features and weaknesses? Ooh. All right, hold on, Cam. I'm going to cut and paste, save. Yes, I'm with you on that. Like, why wouldn't there be, like you said, songs or, what's the term? Songs, limericks, rhymes, like, step on a crack, break your mama's back. Like, I don't mean it's the first thing that came to my mind. Sorry, but ring around a rosy, pocket full of posies. Like, why wouldn't there be these funny, emblematic, like those cadence type of things where you see armies walking and then you have the drill sergeant says the cadence and someone responds with something? Like, why wouldn't that be in existence? Or even heck, just even something that little kids talk about because they remember their dad and uncle and aunt or whatever making comments about the monsters that they've encountered because they grew up on it, whatever. like Cameron says, I don't know, but I've been told Hellcats do not like the cold. Yeah. Why wouldn't that be a thing? Come on, make up something for trolls. I'm testing you here, but yes, like you said, why wouldn't there even be manuals? Even what's the most famous military manual that I can think of in our modern context would be in my brain, Sun Tzu's. Wow, my brain just farted. I was about to say Legend of the Five Rings. That's not it. Please, someone look up Sun Tzu and the Art of War. Thank you. Oof. Art of War. Okay, so many people understand that the Art of War is a treaty. It was the written version of a number of different military leaders. Why would there be one or more manuals? Hell, even fighters having the greatest experience, even if it's anecdotal, about fighting monsters. Like, I've never fought a Medusa, but I hear, that kind of thing. Kaya says, can a Medusa eat stone? If not, that's why they carry their hunting bow. Right. Like, oh, damn, why did that succulent pig look me in the eye? See, yeah. They've got their hood down and whatnot. Yeah, can a Medusa eat stone? From what I understand, hell no. So you're right. There is a reason why a Medusa carries a bow. And a how do you say, like, sometimes you don't want to let someone know what your biggest weapon is, right? Like, sure, you've got the grenade in your back pocket, but everyone doesn't walk around with, military wise, they don't walk around with grenades. They walk around with other weapons because those weapons are needed for that particular encounter. Even if that weapon is less, what we would consider less effective, it is still perfect for that use. Um, it's why we understand that the long sword in Dungeons and Dragons has been given a higher status because of the story element. But really, like pole arms and spears and daggers and stuff um, are perfect for their use because there's a reason when to use them. And despite the fact that we as gamers know that, oh, well, the two-handed sword does the most damage, I'm going to get myself a great sword or whatever. Uh, we understand it, like from a numbers point of view, gaming rules, that one weapon does more damage because there really are no limitations in combat when using various weapons. But really, each weapon has each weapon has their uses in a particular time and place, and some I understand skill has a lot to do with it, but many weapons are useful just because of the way they are designed, and there's a reason why they're designed that way. Tired needs sleep makes up a little limerick. This is my pike. There are many like it, but this one is mine. This is my crossbow. This is uh, uh, this is for fighting. This is for fun. Hit me if I'm a liar. Trolls do not come around the fire. Oh, shit. We could make a whole treaty of those kind of. I'm gonna have to hire you guys. We're gonna have to write some of this stuff down. But it makes perfect sense, right? Like I could even see it being like written on walls in chalk, like graffiti, or hell, tattooed, like some kind of weird, funky tattoo or something, or an image created or whatnot. Even if it's like a like I don't know, like a strange eyeball with a corona fire around it or something, and that represents it. What I mean, I'm just pulling out of my ass, but yeah. And why wouldn't military schools or just have books like, hey, going against the undead, go grab the undead books off the shelf and bring that down here. I want to show you something. Hey, by the way, spears aren't very good against skeletons, right? Like Cameron says, spears are awesome. I think spears are so disrespected in a lot of role-playing games. They so are. I mean, hell, spears are like reach weapons. Spears put together make great, they are the pikes of the world. Spear represents like they are the epitome of the polearm family, basically. I mean, it's great. Now, um fighters, since we are talking about fighters and today is a Monster Monday, I wonder why it is that we haven't seen, or why we haven't been, but we can include. Um, yep, Tyre says most effective weapon for the millennia, pointy stick. As a matter of fact, still today we kind of still use spears. If it wasn't for the fact that we have indoor locations, spears are still used. Pointy sticks are how many times take a knife, go out into the woods. How many people have tried to find the straightest stick you could and sharpen the end of it with rubbing it on the ground, or using like an army knife or whatever to sharpen it. Yeah, heck, just finding a stick in general. Lots of people go on walks or in the woods and whatnot. What do? You pick up a stick. So I guess a staff. I suppose a staff or a club might be more universal, but I think the spear is probably the most effective out of those. Yeah. Bathroom stall. Cameron talks about the written on the bathroom stall. I found the dragon's heart through her stomach. Fighter says to the barbarian, I have a plan. you do realize you just came out of the bathroom. Don't tell me you have a plan when you're pulling up your pants. I do. Wipe, wipe, wipe. I found the dragon's heart through his stomach. Exactly. And that might not be cooking food. Another disservice about fighters is the fact that we tend to think of them in the midst of battle, but we don't think of them before and after a fight. Let's go with after a fight. How many fighters would be CSI or NCIS trained forensic specialists, right? What killed it? How did it die? How long has it been dead? What skills or capabilities did this thing that killed it? Was it an animal? Was it bestial? Was it diseased? How many combatants were there? Did they strike from a hidden location? I mean, fighters versus rogues, I think, is probably a real thing. Like, hey, if I were a sniper and I were skilled in the thing, I would be up in that tree line or on that high ridge, or I know how many warriors there were because I can tell by how many footsteps there have been. And I understand this sounds like we're flowing into the Ranger here, but I'm talking about just dead bodies, battle, and the forensic capabilities that a fighter would have, or many experienced fighters would see to have. Like fighters, I understand this is flowing into the battle master because they've had to fill that gap because they've probably the design of the battle master is what we're talking about now, like figuring out what capabilities someone has. Oh, they lean to their left, or they always look down at my feet before they try to strike me to the right. They always go for a haymaker after 2 jabs. It's that kind of thing that I think fighters lack. And why wouldn't monsters or our humanoid monsters have those same capabilities, right? Also, how about before a fight? Looking at the being able to take care of weapons and armor, the value of those things, the history of weapons. How many intellectual properties have we seen where a weapon of some renown is included, and someone looks at the weapon and they go, you're from a certain clan, that's from a certain crypt, that was in a battle, or with a historical context. Yep. Like Cameron says, gotta sharpen that blade. Every fighter should have a whetstone. And Pathfinder 1st edition, a whetstone gave you +1 damage on your first successful attack. The fighter should also be pounding out their armor. Oh yeah. Heck, just even 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons has done away with what was actually a very small part of the game. But I remember this from Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, where your weapons and armor, could be damaged. And it could be damaged according to, like, if someone, let's say that dragon breathed fire on you, your stuff would catch on fire. If you fell in acid, if you fell down a pit. And so someone had to be able to fix all those things. And I like the idea of a fighter. Maybe you could even make a subclass of a fighter that preps their weapons and armor like before a battle, or they know how to do a thing to prep it so that they like a fighter with a crossbow or a ranged attack, setting up their enemy on that first attack, almost like an equivalency of but not quite as good as a rogue being a sneak attack or something, or a fighter being able to, like, okay, I've battled this person for 3 rounds. Okay, so now I can use I get a single bonus of a +3 to take advantage of their capabilities or something. And yes, I know, sounds like I'm talking about the Battle Master again, but it's a shame fighters don't have a suite of abilities other than their um, the limiting of the capabilities they have, like being a two-handed weapon fighter or a duelist or something like that. Um, Thomas Anderson, hey, what's going on there? Okay, I'll get to your comment in a minute. Rickard says a battle master is a field commander. That doesn't mean that all other fighters don't know tactics, just that the battle master is more about team leading by positioning and recreating advantages. Exactly. Like just because, like you said, someone maybe is just skilled at being able to apply their knowledge and use their knowledge to place other individuals who also have knowledge of fighting. But listen, there's plenty of people who know how to box and can't teach a damn person how to box, but they can kick your ass because they know how to fight. I guess you could call them a monk, but let's there's even there are even let's go with a police officer, right? There are many police officers who can take you down in a moment. That doesn't mean they can tell you how to take someone down. It's just that when they're put into a violent situation, they know how to handle themselves, which weapon to use, what tactics to use, knowing that, oh, if I follow this person around the corner, that they're probably going to have someone else laying in wait or what have you. Yeah, I agree with you, Rickard. Like a battle master is a field commander. That doesn't, like you said, that doesn't mean that the field commander might have 5 soldiers under their control. That doesn't necessarily mean those 5 soldiers aren't skilled. It just means that those 5 soldiers may not have the capability to get other people to be involved in their combat ability. So I'm with you. Thomas Anderson, thank you very much for popping in here. Says slash damage from a blade works far better if the sharpening stone is rough, leaving a slightly sawtooth shape too. Ooh, yeah. Totally from experience of years of sharpening my own tools, even carbide with diamond and silicon carbide sandpaper. Really? Okay. Yeah, just even how you take care of your weapons is quite important, right? I'm going to bring up something pretty niche, that long sword where you see the indentation in the long sword is to create a gap of air so that when your blade goes into someone, you can actually pull it out. I mean, those little things, that's important. And you don't find that out until you've killed enough people to go, yeah, next time we make a blade, I need you to make an indentation in the blade. And they're like, why? Listen, I've stabbed enough people in the throat to have to put my foot up against their face. I don't want to have to do that again, right? Thomas Anderson goes on to say, but you would not expect ancient fighters to really know this unless we are talking era of geopolymers and possibly using dissimilar stuff to make ancient versions of electric control. Yeah, teaching is a completely different skill over use of any of the taught skills. I'm going to argue slightly with you there, Mr. Anderson, TA, because while scientifically we may know things today in a certain context, I think there's an instinctual thing learned by ancient peoples that still, I think, translates over generations, right? Even if they may not understand what it means, including the forging of weapons and stuff. So I'm a slightly argue with you there. I'm a friendly fight you. Cameron says fighters also have the advantage in risk-taking situations and in tactical games. Imagine how good an Iraq veteran is good at D&D or Warhammer. You know what? That goes with my contention about fighters having a different walk. They have a different talk. An experienced combatant will not have analysis paralysis when it comes to physical confrontation, right? That's just a simple, okay, human fight or flight is people trained know how to modulate their fight or flight adrenal dump. And a good fighter knows that maybe it's more important to move into a swing than it is to dodge back and hold your hands up, right? Fighters know, I mean, having taken Aikido for a long time, it is a martial art that absolutely positively has you go against the very nature of what you should be doing, any reasonable instinctual thing you should be doing, you know? And so even a fighter, just a fighter looking around a room and feeling the tension, like, you know what, there's a fight about to break out. And my ass better grab a fork or a knife or a brick or something, because this is about to happen. Um, yeah. Thomas Anderson said, sorry, the chat's moving a little bit. Like Tired Needs Sleep says, a champion may beat a battle master in a one-on-one, but a battle master may be able to position an allied champion to make best use of their ability in a bigger battle. Yeah, exactly. Like the champion on their own in an arena, like you said, one-on-one, it's the equivalent of, what is it, a military, a well-trained special forces military soldier in an octagon with an MMA fighter, right? The MMA fighter is the champion, right? In the octagon, beat your ass one-on-one with rules, right? In this certain context. But the battle master, he can tell his friends where to go and what to do, right? Make that champion even more of a badass. Thomas Anderson said, bloodline? Oh, yeah, to teach you have to identify what is the type of person, like a bloodline. Yeah, I agree with that. TA says, so it does not. Oh, the bloodline for the blade. That's called the bloodline. Yeah, so it does not get stuck by suction. And one time you have to stand on it, stand on a body pulling the knife out. It's nearly impossible. Yeah, for sure. But the teaching is more about how effective even a poor teacher can teach when using their skills just by being watched. I can't agree with you more. Some people, how many of us as kids learn things from our family, friends by watching other people? Right? Exactly. Tired of these sleep says, I'm loving this discussion. Yeah, that's why we're here, man. I'm loving it because I'm loving you guys. Caius of Glancy says, exactly, Tired. I play fighters to make my team more effective. The damage dealers often don't know where to position themselves or respond to foes they cannot reach. Yep. And Thomas Anderson says, yeah, skill often is converted to confidence in a person with that skill when confronted, so less likely to freeze up. I think all of these things are like, I'm not here to nerf like wizards and clerics and warlocks and all that kind of stuff. But when a fighter, given a certain point of time, there's a point at which when a wizard gets ready to raise their hands, that a fighter's going to just raise up their fist and punch the wizard right in the mouth because they know what's about to happen, or words are being said angrily across the table, and the fighter's the first person to grab someone's arm and take that butter knife and jam it through someone's wrist through the palm of someone's hand and jam it into a table. Or when the fighter looks around at everyone and goes, we need to leave now. Why? Why should we leave? I don't see what the problem is. And the fighter's like, look, I don't know whether I'm right or not, but I'm pretty sure there's 3 people following us. That means there's at least 6 out there, and we're going to be surrounded, or even okay, there's in a fight, there's even this idea that you can psychologically overwhelm your opponent simply by your intentions. In the years I took martial arts, man, I am short, I'm wide, I'm heavy. I'm heavier now than I did when I was about 30 pounds lighter when I was doing martial arts. But to make up for my lack of skill, I used intention a lot. Like there were times when I would not back off. I would just keep going. And I would get pummeled. And there's something about using fear and intimidation and just heart, endurance. A lot of times when something or someone does not stop, there's a fear that can be put into you when you you take your best shot and it doesn't take your enemy down, and the fighter is like, that really hurt, but I'm gonna pretend like it doesn't. Just faking it sometimes is so important when it comes to a battle, that a lot of people are like, we hit him with our best shot, we better run. Yeah. Kai is like, quote, if it shrugs off maims, use acid and flames. Ooh, for the troll. Yeah, another one. Writing on the bathroom wall, right? Um, TA says, have you ever used sounds on a sound system to enhance a game? Let's not get too squirrely, but the answer is hell yeah. Oh, hell yes. Michael I'm going to say Gelfini, and that's not how you pronounce his name, releases soundscapes twice a week. I'm going to have to look that up. Puts soundscapes, and they are awesome. He's got a 1 hour one or 1.5 hour one of a battle, and it is perfect. It sounds great. Thomas Anderson says, like, when you put on a very quiet track of coughing that causes coughing to spread through a group, having no idea it's the sound of coughing in a music track too quiet to discern. Hey, you're going off on a little tangent here. I'm going to have to cut you off there, but yeah, we have the hour mark anyway. Yep. Heck, even like, yep. Rickard says, I recommend tabletop audio. We might have to. I don't know if it deserves a week, but. Well, you know what? We could talk about some of our favorite. Okay, here's a challenge. I'm going to challenge all you guys out there. And I'll remind you when the week, maybe we'll do it next week or something. Our favorite free, it's got to be free, or at least exceedingly cheap, tabletop enhancers, and what we can use. So maybe we'll do that for next week, because it sounds kind of cool, because a lot of people don't know those things, and maybe I might be able to find a lot of links that I can put in, because I know I have the ability to do it. But yeah, tabletop audio is good. I use Sirenscape. I've used I've gone old school plenty of times. I still have, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 dozen CDs that I've used for music from various movies and things. Not soundtracks, scores for movies. Cameron says, bottom of the inside of a cup. This could have been a mimic. You have been warned. Oh, I love that. This could have been a mimic. You have been warned. It's written on the bottom of the cup. Man, what if it was scratched in the bottom? Like, looking like someone scratched it with like a nail or a fingernail or something. They've seen this happen. Why are you scratching the inside of every cup you find? I have to warn them. I have to. Yep. Oh yeah, TA. Dude, yeah. I should do some merch for the channel? What do you mean, like t-shirts? And you mean yeah, coffee mugs with that phrase inside the bottom would be absolutely awesome. Dude, listen, if I when I get off here, I'm gonna look that up, and if I find it, if I'm able to do it, Cam gets the proceeds for that. There's no way I can take that. Cam has it. If all right, here's a promise, Cam. If and I guess this is legally binding. If I'm able to get that put inside of a coffee mug some kind of way, I'll split the proceeds if there's a way to do it. There's got to be a way to do it. PayPal or something like that, whatever the hell. That would be awesome. That's very awesome. Shit, half the stuff you guys say should be put on t-shirts anyway. Oh man. Yeah. Ricker's like, I need a dreadlock squirrel plushie. Yeah, Tom was like, joint venture. Share the profits. Most capitalist thing I've heard all day. That's me. I'm the socialist anarchist, I guess. I don't know what the hell you would call it. But hey, listen, creativity. No, hey, seriously, Cam, I'm dead serious about that. Hell yeah. As a matter of fact, I even thought of the idea of like um of creating. Listen, every day on this show, just before we get out of here, every day on the show, we come up with some great ideas. And I've always thought it would be really cool to crowdsource the things we're talking about to create a setting, like to create products and stuff, and to crowdsource it. It would be exceedingly difficult to balance like who gets what, and then there's arguments about percentages, and then credit being credited with something and all that kind of business. I get it, but I still think there's some value in crowdsourcing uh, anything and everything, and especially in tabletop community. I mean, the best thing about being at the head of something being created and you being part of it is that there's an investment in it, and a it's like we're talking about fighters right now. Why? It's like we're talking about the things we want to see, and we dream of, and we fantasize about, and we have nightmares about, and all that kind of stuff. So, but so anyway, guys, it's we've hit the hour mark. I don't want to take up any much more of your time. You guys spend a lot of your valuable time with me, despite the fact that got started a little bit like what 10 to 15 minutes late here. Um, and it's like I don't know how to repay you except with a little bit of change in the mind. So thank you so much. Thomas Sanders, I'm working on a replicator level upgrades of 3D printing tech, and that is the goal. Once done, spread it around in the files so they can use it to print dupes and spread to their friends. Oh, okay. Tech we can focus on hoarding the you can't make room to breathe and think and create. Dude, you have to okay, do me a favor. I'm gonna ask, I don't ask this of you. Thank you there, tired needs sleep, who's in UK, says thank you, you've come online at 6 a.m where you are, so all the thanks really goes to you. Yeah, it's dude, it, honestly, this is my cup of coffee in the morning, right? Like I normally I have to go to work. I have a full-time job. I work 6 days a week, essentially. And in order for me to wake up, I drink a cup of coffee, get ready, and da, da, da. So I get up about 5:30 in the morning. I water and feed my cats. I got fish. I stumble around. I get this my set up my backdrop, whatever. But it's like I'm an old grognard. I don't know when I'm getting off work. I don't have a lot of time during the afternoon and evening. But I was like, wow, when can I game? When can I talk about gaming? So this is my time. Now, Thomas Anderson, please join me on Future Fridays. That's where we talk about futurism and everything. So please join me then. Cameron says we could create some free products so we don't have to worry about the money thing. Could help sell later products. Oh, hell yeah. What is that? Value added, that kind of thing. So don't think that I don't think about this all the time. But anyway, guys, I got to get out of here. Um, they're an important member of the family has to commute to work today. So I've got to get out the way. So guys, everybody have a great one. I will see thee later. Have a great day. And if you're in the States, have a great holiday. See you later. Bye. Thank you so much. Everybody take care.